And we are live.
Welcome to episode 61 of TLC Tech Learn Coffee, now powered by Q. I'm your host, Lisa Nowakowski. I'm a fifth grade teacher in South Monterey County here in California.
And I'm Nancy Minnie Coetzee, an instructional technology coach in Northwest LA County, also in California. Just a reminder that we have a 15-minute format because ain't nobody got time for more than that.
No. And you and your pooch, today's coffee fact, can enjoy a cup of coffee together. Okay, it's not really coffee as that's harmful to our man's best friend. However, instead, it's more of a tea with herbs such as dandelion roots, chicory, and carrots, and things like that. It's said to make your sidekick less food obsessed. I'd like to see them try that with my dogs. And still not sure you want to try it? No problem. Keep sharing the carrots and the apple slices with your poochies. They'll be loving it.
All right. Well, we'll have to give that a try. So tonight's guest is Benjamin Hartman, who will be talking to us about how to find your tribe on Twitter. So Ben, tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, that kind of thing.
I am a instructional technology coach in West Suburban Chicago School District, Elmhurst Community Unit School District 205. And I'm in my 17th year of education. 13 of those were spent in the classroom, 4th and 5th grade classroom teacher in Wooddale, District 7. All of this is right around O'Hare Airport. Married, proud dad of a 6th grader and 3rd grader. And as an instructional coach, I look to help with instructional design, implementing technology, and helping teachers try new ideas.
That sounds great. So tonight we're talking about using Twitter to find your tribe. And I know that Lisa and I are big Twitter users, but what do you mean when you say your tribe?
So tribe for me, in a very 21st century definition, I hope, is to find that group of like-minded people or people who you click with and who you connect with on hopefully more than just a professional level, but based around similar interests. I think so often with social media, we find in not just the ed sphere, but outside of that sometimes people are very disagreeable. And edu-Twitter, as we like to call it, certainly has aspects of that where people are willing to challenge each other and have those, I think, important conversations. But also, I found it to be very much an a la carte experience. That is, you can go and ask a question. You can connect with some of the bigger names in terms of who those characters and players are, as well as maintain the lurker status where you simply follow and see what other people are talking about. So it can be anything from following the Will Richardson, George Couros, Jen Gonzalez of the world, or simply sitting back and watching what those conversations go on there. So to build your tribe, I think, is a really powerful concept. Teaching has changed so much, I think, since all of us have started, but it can be a very insular profession and one where when the door closes, it's you and students. Even if you have the most collaborative of teammates, I think Twitter offers another channel, another opportunity to go and see what others are doing, share what you're doing yourself, and get some honest feedback on what that looks like.
I think that's great. So why Twitter and not other forms of social media?
Twitter for me took off around an ed camp that I was at, and that media piece seemed to be one that was a place where teachers could be themselves. And so in the earliest days of it, I think I've been on for 7 years now. My experience with it was one where I could filter out those in trainings I've done. We sometimes called it the Justin Bieber effect. I'm sure there's other characters or people who would take that place now, but sometimes the question was raised, why would I go there? Twitter's only this and this and this. And I think Twitter is very much a powerful tool for whoever wants to use it. And so if you watch your late local news, the weatherman has a Twitter, the sportscaster has a Twitter. And so what you put out there and what you solicit back using that is very much tunable if you, and with a few simple steps, I think. I don't find that same dialogue or variety of voices in other places. Google Plus, I know for those districts that are one-to-one or that live in the Google sphere, that's a built-in tool that's there. Some people find great depth there. I haven't necessarily. Facebook, I find a lot of times to be more of a that closed circle, and so you have to invite others there. Twitter, you can sit back and watch, and so very much like that TV on in the back of the restaurant, or you know, if noise is going on at home, you might simply have the TV, you know, just muted. You can sit back and watch those things, and then when you see the on ramp or the access point where you want to ask more of a question, or put yourself out there, I think that's a great way to look at Twitter that way. You know, there's Instagram as well is another popular one where a lot of districts like to put out that picture first, right? And that's something else I think is interesting about Twitter, the way that different districts have branded themselves in a way of a hashtag that they use or that they follow. Twitter, well tuned. It's only the channels you want, and the conversations that you want to peek in on and see, and follow those people that you want to follow. So that's why have stayed there as long as I have. I like to try a lot of different ones, but that's the one that's really stuck with me.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think that I like the idea of the TV analogy, because you can kind of watch it and then jump in. Just like if you have the TV on the background in your house, you can turn up the volume when there's something that's interesting to you. So along those lines, when you're talking about watching it go by, it moves really, really quickly if you're looking at your feed. So how do people avoid becoming overwhelmed? What's your best advice for that?
My best advice for that is to implement a Twitter aggregator. TweetDeck is my preferred one. It was a couple years ago. Twitter actually bought TweetDeck, and so you have sort of like a lesson plan format almost, with different columns on your computer screen. And what I have on mine, for example, from left to right, is my feed, which you're absolutely right. It can go 100 miles an hour, especially if there's something big going on. And so with changes in policy or Department of Ed announcements or technology things, that can be going 100 miles an hour. Other ones I might tune into could be a specific hashtag. And so things like hashtag EdTechChat or EdCamp, or a specific topic. There's fourth chat, fifth chat, EL chat, and so on. So many different places you can tune that. And aggregator is a great tool. Aggregator is a great tool to use, and only follow those ones that you have interest in or that you look at. For me, links from those then to articles, to artifacts, or experts in the field tends to be enough of that conversation. Since we're on the TV analogy, we'll keep going with that one. I'm a big ESPN fan, but if you watch for much more than an hour, you're starting to see the same thing again and again. And so Twitter's one you can step away from for a day or a week and come back, and probably not. I mean, you're missing some quality conversation, but those topics tend to come up again and again. And so if you're looking for different chats or different topics, those things can be archived in a sort. You can go back and look at those things as well. So Twitter chats are another great way to find topics or people that you're interested in. In those, it's usually a 10-question format for an hour. And the moderator of the chat puts the questions out. They can set it so that they actually send themselves. They can be involved in the chat too. Many of those have the questions published ahead of time. And so I know Buffer Chat does one that's another aggregator tool you can use to time your tweets and put things out at different places. And it's a nice way to know what the topics of conversation are going to be, have maybe a picture or two, an artifact, a snapshot from class to share there, or even have questions to build off of those as well. That's where I've found the cast of characters, if we will, following the TV analogy still, of those voices that resonate with me. And Twitter's another one where I don't think there's necessarily the hurt feelings or the oh, what if I unfollow or unfriend or whatever. And so there's been times I've been looking for instructional resources, and I've followed we read Touching Spirit Bear. Our 6th grade ELA classes read that. And there are people who go and do research in that chain of the Aleutians off the Alaskan coast. It's super specific stuff. We've had authors Skype in and join us that way too. And Twitter is a great way to connect with those different cast of characters. And when you're done with those conversations, there's, you just drift away, you go somewhere else, or even step away for a little bit. I find it to be one that can simmer, it can rest, and then when we come back to it or feel a need to go take a look at it, it's right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I am a complete Twitter newbie.
Okay.
What should I do in order to be successful at jumping into that very deep pool that is Twitter?
Know that you're going to perhaps make a couple missteps here and there. The first thing I would consider is your handle, and that's your at, your name. And so I've gone through 3 different ones actually. I was so the name of my classroom, when I was still in the classroom. And then I was a tech coach for a while. So I was Tech Coach Ben, convinced that was the end all be all. That's the only thing. And now I'm the Ben Hartman, which sounds a little ostentatious, but there's a lot of Ben Hartmans out there. Mentioned George Couros earlier. He makes a really great point. If you want your picture to be you, and so when people look at your account, they know who they're interacting with, that it's not, if it's your classroom account, that's a much different piece than it might be professionally. I found helping teachers to get on there, new teachers are new to Twitter, getting a good picture, having a real brief blurb on your bio of what you're there to learn, where you are. And then a handle that makes sense. I think that there's a lot of tools online. You can go and type in your name or your job or things you're interested in. And so I have friends who or people I follow on Twitter who are very descriptive in that regard. I have others who are, to go along with the dog theme from earlier, I think it's one pug lover. And so we know a lot about that person, right? Or we know something about that person, but we probably don't know a ton about what I can't now think now who that might be and who that person is actually. But
no, that's true. And just I have had to change. I changed my Twitter name, and of course, if you look on Twitter, I looked at those tools that you're mentioning and could not find anything because apparently everybody else is named Nancy as well. So that's how I ended up with Coffee Nancy.
Ben Hartman was a place kicker for East Carolina University and did wonderful things for them, I'm sure. But he's long gone, and I don't know what the young man's doing now. But yeah, so the Ben Hartman, and how you're known professionally as well. I think certainly people, they put some credentials in there sometimes, Masters of Ed or doctoral as well. And then I think the next thing is to, if you're more comfortable lurking and watching for a little bit, find a hashtag here or there, talk to a colleague or a coach, maybe a principal, who you think is pretty well connected, and then start to tune in and see what the conversation is about there. And
can you clarify what you mean by following a hashtag in case somebody doesn't know?
Of course, I'm happy to. So a hashtag is a code that's used with a pound sign. For those of us who remember push button phones, it's one of the push buttons at the bottom. And so when you add a hashtag, it is not yours. There's no proprietariness in that. And so companies will use them, of course, to try to curate or collect the conversation around things. So if you're watching, say, the home run derby from baseball, home run derby 18, or MLB Derby 18 might be one that they use. So they have the hashtag symbol there. No punctuation in there. Sometimes they can read sort of funny. I mentioned fourth chat earlier, so it's the number 4th chat for 4th grade. EL chat, TSOL chat for teachers of English second language chat. Those all signify a different group or conversation. Like I said, they're not proprietary. Nobody owns a hashtag. You might find people who say they created one here or there. Then an ed camp a few years ago, we did an IL Tech Coach, so ill Tech Coach. Always take a second look, glance at those. Wow. To see what you're spelling. And then after you found one of those, I think that's a great way to start to pick your channels, so to speak, of what you see.
Well, that is great information. Do you have anything you'd like to elaborate on before we close out? Any hints about how people cannot get frustrated or anything else? We will have links to to the resources in our notes, so go for it.
Thanks. I linked in there an article. I think there's one from Edutopia, as well as some other places. There's a gazillion articles online talking about teachers and Twitter. You want to check your district to see if there's any specific rules they have. You don't want to put kids' pictures up. We all have that no photo, no video list. Double check that. You want to see if there is a district initiative or district hashtag. We have hashtag Ignite D205 is our current one. Specific schools, mine is also hashtag We Are Churchville. And so help to amplify your voice that way. Don't be frustrated initially if you don't get a ton of followers back. I'm somewhere around 2,100, which is a nice, happy number. It's not a scorecard, however. And so just keep that in mind. There's a huge conversation going on there, and I really think that teachers are missing out if they don't do that. Check your rules and regs in your district, and have fun, and you'll certainly learn a lot. And if you need to step away for a weekend or whatever, you need to unplug and do that, give yourself that time too. It'll be there waiting for you when you come back.
That was great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for all our listeners. So if you enjoyed the show, and of course you did, please leave us a comment to let us know. Tonight's comment question is, what is your best advice for getting started on Twitter? Or if you're not on Twitter quite yet, what's holding you back? Get started. And join us on Monday, October 1st, when our guest will be my dog. Hi, she muted me. She had to come up and join me. But our guest will be somebody completely fabulous, possibly talking about Project Lit Detroit. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, I can't wait to see who it is. Please don't forget to subscribe to hear more about easy ways for you to innovate in your classroom. If you like the show, please rate and leave us a review on iTunes so people can find us. Remember, we are always looking for guests to share the great things they're doing in their classrooms. So if you know someone who fits the bill, or if you'd like to be a guest yourself, please visit tlc.ninja and complete the contact form to let us know. Thanks so much.